Welcome to BizTech's Health and Wellness Show. Now, today we feature MyLifeCodes, which is a company that's involved in DNA testing. Our guests today are Jacky Loong, the founder and CEO of MyLifeCodes, and Associate Professor Dr. Saharuddin Mohamad, Head of Department, Faculty of Science, Bioinformatics at University of Malaya. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now, Jacky, can you just give us a quick overview of what MyLifeCode does?
MyLifeCode is a Malaysian company. We are the first Malaysian company to make this DNA test accessible and more affordable to the public. So it's founded in 2019, end of 2019, DNA testing. So because I was in the healthcare line for about 8 years, that I see a lot of problems in the market whereby people would have unsure about the advice that they give, and also people not sure what kind of supplements and advice that they want to do it. So that's a reason we built a company. It's a solution-based approach for a genetic test. So I have a passion to improve the people life, especially Malaysian life. It's more fluency. It's become a stepper of this healthcare to a Malaysian populations and people.
Tell us what inspired you to start MyLifeCodes. Was there a critical light bulb moment? Did you see something that made you start this?
Oh yeah, it's a very sad story actually. My uncle do diagnose cancer. You see, so I was a molecular biologist, master degree in molecular biologist, but nothing I can know because having to know a cancer in stage 4, the survival rate is 12 to 13%. As compared to if you know it in stage 1, it will have about 93% of the survival rate. So by the time my uncle is in stage 4, that's why I was like, what we can do about it. Then only I wanted to start this company about knowing the risk earlier to get a better prevention.
Dr. Saha, I wanted to hear from you in terms of the science behind DNA testing. Now, why should we even do a DNA test? What are the benefits of doing it?
Okay, so if we look at human, we have a lot of cells inside our body. Okay. So in each of our cell, we have the genetic elements in which we call it as DNA molecules. So in human, actually, we have around 3.2 billion base pair of DNA elements. So the DNA base pair, we have 3.2 billions. And between us, we have around 0.1% variation. So actually, the genetic testing is where we're trying to identify what are the variation and where are the location of the variation. So if the variation occur at important sites, like sites that code for proteins that for a certain type of disease. So if variation occur at that site, for example, your gene is supposed to metabolize fat. However, variation occur that making the capacity of the protein to metabolize fat lesser. So in that case, your metabolism rate are going to be slower compared to the healthy situation. So if we understand that, we able to identify the variation, where are the variation occur and what type of variation that occur, and then we can do a lot of planning on how do we organize our diet, for example, change our lifestyle accordingly so that we can accommodate the change, the variation, so that it won't cause a lot of damage later in future. So that is the basic concept why genetic testing is important in this field.
And also one of the key things, I mean, that there's you mentioned a very key element in that. It also then, of course, influences, DNA tests also help to influence our family planning decisions, and of course we can learn about our family history.
Yes.
Detect birth defects as well.
Yes.
And of course then on the other side of the equation, the reason for doing DNA tests is also to help us in terms of personalizing medical treatment and I think overall improving quality of life. Am I right?
Yes,
Could you
correct.
perhaps elaborate on how this happens?
Okay, for example, if each of us has our own set of metabolism rate, which is some people may metabolize certain types of drug faster, some are lower. So generally, for example, if we are talking about drug administration, usually it comes in a fixed amount. So for example, let's say I'm taking Panadol. I'm taking 2 tablets of Panadol when I'm having headache. But does 2 tablets of Panadol enough for me, or is it too much?
Okay.
Or is it I need more? It depends on my metabolism rate, because my body will metabolize the drug and change it into things that's important. That's going to be the functional part of the drugs. So if my metabolism rate is very fast, so meaning that the drug is going to be digested faster in my system, so that I may need more drugs in order to have the good benefit of the drug.
Yeah,
So
talking about this
yeah.
metabolism, I will have to share some things. During the consultations, especially my client who bought the test, caffeine metabolism, which is a very real result that I can see. There's this gene, whether or not you can fast metabolize or you are in a slow metabolize, whether you are in which version gene you have, which is very true. Some of our clients, they have tested, they have a very low metabolized and they just drink tremendously fast. They feel nausea, they feel dizziness. They really cannot take it. I have tested few reports and it's so accurate that people who have a low metabolism, they really feel that effect. And that is how what Dr. Saha mentioned, drugs metabolism and also other caffeine metabolism and other metabolism as well.
Basically, now, how do we, so using this DNA test, you can basically address some health disease risk, and also you can start to set lifestyle goals and nutrition improvements, right? Because as Dr. Saha said just now, again, if that, and Jacky, you mentioned as well, if you understand, for example, as you just said, the metabolic rate, you will then understand, hey, obesity is something that's part of my DNA. I need to take corrective action in order to then negate the negative effects. Am I correct?
Yeah, I think you're correct on that. So meaning that if I know that in future, what are the percentage of me going to have obesity based on the current diet, and then what should I do in order to avoid that first of this type of testing?
Okay, so now I'm going to ask Jacky about it. Jacky, you've got this whole plethora of tests. There are packages that you go through. You have a wellness report, you have an allergy and sensitivity report, you've got 15 skin condition reports, weight management reports. Walk us through some of these packages and what they actually help us to do.
Okay, great. Some of the people, they do not want to know about their disease risk. You will find it very funny that they feel very worried, anxious about getting to know their disease risk. That is why we come up a package, a wellness one, which means to say, I can just know about what I can do about it to change about my diets, my exercise, way of exercise, my habits. So in order I can live a better, healthier lifestyle, but I do not want to know about my inherited disease. That's why we come up a package. But some people, they want to know about the comprehensive. So they want to know about their cancer risk, allergy, they want to know everything, including what habits, diets, exercise, what nutrigenomic I could have deficiency. They want to know all, even including the cancer risk as well. So that's the reason the comprehensive package come into a picture.
Okay, what is puzzling for me is when I looked at your whole list, one thing stands out, which is personality traits reports. Tell us a little bit about that and your nutrigenomics reports.
Okay, personally traits reports is tell you about your inherited talents. Let's say your ability to memory or your cognitive strength. Are you a late person or you are the morning person? That would be more inherited into your personality trait. Of course, that would be recommended into your gene. That is still a nurture environmental to make a difference as well. So the other one is about the nutrigenomic report. It's more to how well your body metabolize all kind of supplement, vitamins and mineral inside your body. So that is the nutrigenomic reports that you know about your body throughout your life, that you would have, you may taking like vitamin A, vitamin C because of my friends or advertisement who think that you should have that vitamin, but indeed your certain vitamin or mineral, it should be deficiency, pre-deposited, not enough, or it could be your enzyme and not able to metabolize, make it available for your cellular to use that mineral or vitamin. That's why we see what would be the potential deficiency from the vitamin and mineral.
Now, could you then, and either one of you can answer this question, if I go and do one of these packages, right? So let's say I take your full comprehensive package. How do I then act upon these reports in order to improve healthcare outcomes? So what do I need to do?
Okay,
So what do I need to do? Either one of you can answer, or both of you answer this.
Yeah, I add on how the report.
Jacky should answer first.
I add on the all the report we design first. The report that we design not only your genotype, a genotype which means like what Dr. Saha mentioned, your dad and your mom, right, carry two different versions of the gene to you. That is a genotype, AAGG, that kind of genotypes. Once we know that would be the functionality of that genotype, then we will know the gene functions. Then we have a special captions in our reports, right, for the diet or the exercise or these supplements. So what is scattered only for you? It means with the layman, you read our reports. It is something that you can do about it. Some intervention you can do about after reading the reports. It's not like I know I have a high risk on this thing, so what I can do about it. So that's a section of it to show you what you actually can do to improve the risk.
Who does the interpretation? Is there a doctor that sits with you, or who helps you to interpret the report?
Okay, the report usually will be done by the consultants, or like myself as a geneticist. We will look at what gene will cause this, and from there we will link it like a story. Okay, so for example, go back to the obesity that we mentioned, or diabetes. We will look at what kind of sensitivity. Are you very high in sweet sensitivity? Then we look at what about your insulin resistant gene. So that will be related. Then what about your obesity risk? And what about your the diabetes type 2 risk? So all of this, right, we will combine it as a story. The consultant will consult, and myself also will give some inputs, right, to the end user. We will come up in a summary version, tell you the entire story of what your gene could have tell you.
Then after that, do you have a program of rectification? Do we work with MyLifeCodes? If say I go and do a test, do I work with MyLifeCodes and says, okay, buy these vitamins or buy these supplements, this is what you need to do? Is there a program that you can go through after that?
So we have beta launch this personalized supplement. It's actually a compounding supplement. So how it works is like once we look at your genetic reports, we know that you have certain high risk on certain things, and we could know that you have a deficiency on certain mineral or vitamin. From there, you could have give us the blood reports together. Blood report, we can give it to a doctor. A doctor could prescribe according to diseases and also your mineral. So from we can make it into a single capsule for about 7-8 type of active ingredient inside, so that you don't have to take like 7-8 bottles anymore. You take a single capsule that consists all the vitamin, mineral, and the prevention as well.
Wow, that is very, very interesting. Now, Dr. Saha, I want to ask you, this is obviously something, your collaboration with MyLifeCodes is really something that's very good, because it's academia versus together with the private sector. What can you share your insights into some of the benefits that you are getting out of this as a researcher because of the increased data pool?
If we are dealing with DNA data, the genetic data, we have a lot amount of data. Actually, it's very big data. So a lot of output from, for example, from Malaysian population, that is stored somewhere in the data bank.
But where? How was this data originally collected? I'm surprised.
It is
we have
based on we call DNA sequencing project, where we do some project where we sequence the human genome and then we store it in the database.
Okay, that's where is the database now? Is there
The database is we have a lot of institution in Malaysia that handling such type of project. Like for example, in we have that. We also have the project in UKM, University Kebangsaan Malaysia. Also in Ministry of Health, Institute of Medical Research. They're having that, and they have all the database there. And those database is stored maintained, managed by them. And then all those data, when we talk about genetic testing, we are going to utilize that data and then compare it to the subject that we're testing. So by doing this, actually, we can utilize the information that we have based on our academic project, and then benefit the industry, where we can use all those data in order to identify genetic risk of a patient, of a person to have a certain type of disease in future.
Saha, I want to ask you a very general question.
Okay.
Basically, since we have been collecting all this DNA data,
Yes.
so what are the top 3 things that basically Malaysians should be concerned about from a health perspective?
Okay, so
From a genetic health perspective,
okay.
not from a lifestyle health, that is later, from a genetic health perspective.
Okay, if we look at the health in terms of health sector, usually one of the disease that we are looking at is non-communicable disease, such as stroke, heart diseases, diabetes, meaning that the disease that you cannot pass to another person by infection. So those type of disease, and actually those type of disease, if you look at the genetic element of that, it is not caused by a single genetic defect. So they are multifactorial. So by understanding creation of the genetic elements inside the patient and compare it with the healthy data sets, we can come up with a certain type of prediction. What are the percentage of the person with certain type of variation going to have this type of disease in future?
With these non-communicable diseases,
Yes.
one of the key things, as you mentioned, there is a genetic predisposition of certain parts of the population
Yes.
to certain diseases, Malaysians.
Yes.
So then, as part of that non-communicable diseases as well, you also have a lifestyle and dietary element that compounds that problem.
Yes. Okay, I understand what I'm trying to say here. So meaning that based on the percentage that, for example, if we are keeping our current lifestyle, we can predict the outcome of the disease.
Correct.
Okay, so and then based on that, what can we do in order to reduce the percentage of having that type of disease?
Okay, so this is where MyLifeCode is very, very interesting, because
Yes.
for a segment of the population that can afford these tests, you really can start to manage and do preventative disease management before it happens.
Yes, that's the correct word.
Yeah, much earlier in the life cycle of, as Jacky pointed out, if you predict stage 1 cancer, if you're predisposed, you go and check it out, you've got stage 1, you've got over 90% possibility of recovery.
Yes.
So that's a big game changer. So a company like this, so an option like this, genetic testing, will improve the lifestyles of people who can afford it.
Yes, I agree with you. That's correct.
So is there any plans? because you are in the academic sector, do you know if there are plans within the government, public sector itself, in public health to do things like this for more general population?
Another issue that we are having to set it for the public is that the cost for this type of analysis is very high. So meaning the cost is one of the factor that limits the broad application of such technology into the public.
Yeah, so and that makes sense. So Jacky, so one of the key things is what's been very clear now is that okay, there is a need for this. Jacky, there is, I mean, you're obviously onto a good business. So what are the future plans for LifeCode? Now that you've been established for 2 years, obviously you've got some traction. What are the plans moving forward for MyLifeCodes?
Oh, as I mentioned, we have beta launch on these personalized supplements. That is one of it. The other thing is we work with a lot of these doctors as well. Some of the doctors, they would need, like Dr. Saha said, drugs that is suitable for that particular disease and that particular person. That is what the area look like. Also, that's a major area that as a personalized supplements, we work with doctors for certain diseases and drugs. We also work with this personal trainer for all kind of like a sport. What kind of sport would be more suitable for that person? It could be a power, it could be due to their aerobics or anaerobics, it could be a strength lifter. So what kind of sport would be more suitable? That's why that is the area that we work with a personal trainer.
Jacky, another question. Where is the base technology for MyLifeCodes in the test? Where does that come from?
The base technology is actually doing the sequencing. We call it genotyping, which means like what Dr. Saha mentioned, we have 3.2 billions of it. So we identify on certain area whereby the people who have high risk or low risk peer review publications. So once we know at that point, we look at what genotype that you have. That would be a microarray, NGS technology as well. So to look at that point, and we compare it to a bigger Malaysia population, that is polygenic risk scoring. So why we compare it to the Malaysia technologies? The population is important.
Gentlemen, final question. Could you give some tips to Malaysians on healthy habits in order to live a more healthy lifestyle? We'll start with Dr. Saha.
So actually for me, as usual, it's very important to have good health habits, like for example, controlling your diet, taking enough sleep, exercising. But actually it is very difficult to maintain that. So it's not easy to achieve all those ideal setting, right? So
Yes.
for me, if we know what's the risk for we to have certain type of disease, then the motivation to control the diet, to take enough sleep, to do exercise are going to increase, and that will encourage people to maintain this all the healthy habits that what they're supposed to do. So that's the importance of the technology.
Now, how about you, Jacky? Final thoughts?
Yeah, my client. A genetic is like a gun, a gun preloaded with the bullet. Bullet is a gene version that inherit from your parents. Whether or not to trigger the buttons, it is based on your diet and your exercise. So you born with it, you pre-deposited, but you're not 100% will get the disease. It pre-deposited. To trigger the button or not, it's based on your exercises and diet. Heart diseases, if you have high risk but you take care, you have actually twofold lower the risk as compared to the low risk people. So that is a very significant, means something you still can do about it to change, even though you know a high risk. So you want to start with know what kind of genetics to pre-deposited. So you want to change the nurture, change about your habits, don't trigger the buttons to causing the disease.
Thank you very much for taking the time to be on the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr.
I'm Brian Fernandez, and I've been speaking to Jacky Loong, founder and CEO of MyLifeCodes, and Associate Professor Dr. Saharuddin Mohamad on BizTech's Health and Wellness Show. This video will be on our Facebook and LinkedIn sites, as well as our website, www.biztech.asia. Please like and subscribe to our various platforms. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for our next episode of Health and Wellness.